When starting a business, many entrepreneurs will be focusing on their strengths and talents, right? Which is, right, I want to design this, or I'm really good with my hands, so I'm going to build something, right? So when we start a business, we're focusing on the skill that we have and what we want to do, right? But then when you actually realize it, when you actually become a business owner, you then end up realizing, oh, right, okay, I have to do the accounts, I have to do my returns, and I also have to do the admin, and I have to do the marketing for my business. Like, you have to do so many things. And take it from me, from someone who has gone from several employed roles, tried to have a few side hustles, and then actually a fully fledged limited company. It has been a whirlwind of skills that I've needed to learn. And the numbers side of things can sometimes be a little bit overwhelming, because I'm so focused on trying to bring in the sales and trying to bring in new clients. And how a salesperson looks at numbers is very different to how an accountant looks at numbers. And trust me, I know it because I married an accountant. So although it might sound easy that if I've married an accountant, oh, my numbers must be all tidy and beautiful and I must know everything there is to know about a spreadsheet, not the case. So I'm here to bring you today an expert in getting to the nitty-gritty with the numbers, but understanding it in such a simple way that is accessible to everybody. Money doesn't have to be complicated, and neither do you have to become a qualified accountant or a chartered financial advisor to understand money. So I think this is the stigma I'd like to break today with my special guest, that we should all be understanding money in our own way and do what we can with the money that we have and the money that we want to grow. Absolutely work alongside coaches and professionals and experts who can help you, but don't rely solely on them is my thing. So when so I have a bookkeeper, and as I said, my husband is an accountant. But I don't just say, oh, yeah, just take care of it. Yeah, let me know when it's done. I actually want to sit there and understand it with them. And the funny conversation we've had is like, my husband will say, oh, you made £16,000 in sales. I'm like, no, I know I've made 23,000. He was like, no, that's your sales, that's your revenue. You actually delivered £16,000 worth of the service. And I'm like, Matt, where did the rest of that thousands go? Where did those start? And he was like, no, you can't count it yet because you haven't delivered that service. So anyway, that's been a journey to understand the numbers, and it's really helped me grow as a business owner. So I want to help you here today. If you're listening to this, welcome to the Money Honey Show. My name is Rosalia Lazara-Tilly, and I'm the podcast host of this show. I'm also CEO of Manuka Media, and I'm a #1 best-selling author on Amazon. So I have multiple income streams. I have different incomes coming from, whether it's the book or the sales from clients or the speaking gigs, or it might be sponsorship sales, all of that kind of stuff. So understanding money can help you make more money. And if you are an employee and you'll say, well, I don't own multiple streams of income, I have a job, then how can we get your money to work harder for you? Because that is your salary, and it doesn't matter how much you earn, it's how you use it, spend it, invest it, grow it. So without further ado, I'm so delighted to bring with you here today, Louisa Wilcox. Hiya.
Hi, thanks so much for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I cannot wait to talk about money. This is exactly what this show is about. It's about women talking about money and owning it. So tell us all, Louisa, who are you and what do you do?
So I'm Louisa Wilcox, as you've already said, and I actually run two businesses. So I run an accounting firm with my business partner, Abby, Rock Solid Accounting UK Limited, which was my bookkeeping business, was my very first business I set up, well, in COVID actually. And I run my second business, Let's Get Wealthy, and that's my money mentoring business for ADHD entrepreneurs.
Fantastic. That sounds like you're pretty busy person yourself. So what got you into this line of work? How did you get into it?
Well, I actually started my bookkeeping journey when I had my eldest son, I've always worked in finance. From the age of 15, I worked in a bank. It's all I actually know. And then I actually became a single mum at 19, and I had my son, and I sat there and I remember texting my sister going, I only know about the banking world. That's all I'd ever done. Worked full time from the age of 15, and I need to do something else. And she actually suggested bookkeeping to me. Now, I absolutely, this is really embarrassing, but I absolutely love reading. I'm a reading nerd. I read every day. And I honestly thought bookkeeping was something to do in a library.
I was going to say, why is it embarrassing?
I know, I had no idea. I was really young. I was quite sleep deprived with, single mum of a baby. And I was like, oh, I'll do that. So I applied to a college. I didn't really read up on it for bookkeeping. So you can imagine that. And I got in, and you can imagine when I went to this evening class, how I felt when I sat there. And suddenly it was learning about like accounting. And I was like, oh, okay. And I absolutely loved it. I loved the environment. I loved doing it. But I was always a little bit worried. And this always shocks people because I've never been good at maths. Numbers and maths is not my forte. I was in the lower tier at school. And although I was top of the class, I just didn't really get it. But I got accounts and I got the numbers within accounts. And one thing I say to people is you don't need to be good at maths to be able to understand your numbers and your money. They're two very, very different things. We learn about algebraic equations at school, but not once have I really had to do that. We have calculators now literally in our pocket, so there's no excuse anymore. And then obviously I went and worked in the accounting industry. I left the banking world, went and worked in the accounting industry. And my son was diagnosed with cerebral palsy when he was 18 months old. And we went through a really long journey together. And also I met my husband and we had another son. And to cut the long story short, I basically was made redundant during COVID. And I decided to set my own bookkeeping business up. And then I went through that journey. And I always knew I wanted to help people with their money in a more detailed way, because I absolutely love looking at personal finances like budgets, how to pay down debt, how to look after your money, how to invest, how to grow future wealth, because we're not taught these things at school. And I kind of hoped I'd be able to do it in my bookkeeping business, but it never really happened that way. We always talked about the business books, but we never really got into the personal financial situation. So in 2022, I joined a course talking about passive income and income streams. And I went, oh, why don't I try and do some money coaching then as a second income stream? And it's from there built up into my second business, which is actually growing massively. And obviously I'm doing loads now online and in person. And I do my money mentoring, and I work with a lot of ADHD entrepreneurs because I've got ADHD myself and both my children do. It just makes sense. So it's been quite a journey, but that's kind of how I got to here.
I love that. There's so much in there to unpack. Like I was writing notes down. I don't know if you could hear me tip-tapping, like typing away. But I love the fact that you've highlighted that you don't need to be good at maths to understand your money. Such a key message. I think we, men and women, maybe get baffled by the concept of money, tax, and investments and things like that, because we maybe think that we're not good enough to understand it because we weren't like, Cambridge or Oxford students in maths. But yeah, you're absolutely right. Maths. Do you know what? Oh my God, my husband's going to kill me for saying this. But he actually said in one of his interviews, remember, qualified ACCA accountant getting into his first job. And they were like, so your strengths? Yeah. And they were like, so what are your weaknesses? And he was like, maths. Mm. He actually said that in an interview, and they were like, I'm sorry, what? And he was like, well, obviously I do everything with spreadsheets and calculators. Like I'm not and he is an absolute genius, like how we can look at so many numbers in a day. But yeah, even a qualified ACCA accountant actually said maths is my weakness, which is mind blowing. So let's get into so I want to understand I understand the ADHD niche because that's, comes from a personal experience. So how do you explain it to someone with ADHD, how they can understand their finances, their balance sheet and their budgeting? And will that help someone without ADHD? Is it the same?
Yeah, it is. I think when you have ADHD, because our brains do work slightly different. I mean, it goes into, this would be a whole new conversation, but it's very different between men and women as to how ADHD appears. For men, it can be very physical, so lots of energy, hyper, on the go. Obviously, it's very different per person. For women, it's very much your brain is always on the go. So my brain doesn't stop at all. I'm like 10 steps ahead as to where I actually am. And it can be a little bit like that within business. And when we're looking at our numbers, so it's about breaking it down into really simple, easy to understand steps. And I think the trouble is with the financial world, it's full of so much technical jargon, profit and loss, balance sheet, capital gains, all of this information, and everyone sits there and they get freaked out by it. And a lot of the people I speak to, they go, I just don't understand it. It makes me feel thick. I'm overwhelmed, get fearful of it, and then they avoid it. And usually it's because they've had a conversation with someone in the past that have actually made them feel like that. So it's breaking it down and going, okay, this is actually what it is. It's literally just, your sales, your money going out, and then your profit. And it's making it into really easy steps so anyone can understand it. So yes, it's not necessarily just for people with ADHD, because when you break it down like that, I think it helps everyone anyway. But it's taking away this technical language and the complication around it, so you can actually just look at it in as easy way, so you do then understand it.
I mean, whether you've got ADHD or not, like trying to understand stuff, just because you understand the jargon and complexities doesn't mean that you shouldn't find an easier way to understand it. Do you know what I mean? Like I don't understand. I don't think I have ADHD. I've not been diagnosed, but I definitely think very, very fast. I'm never sat still. I'm always going at 1,000,000 miles an hour. So I don't know, maybe on some level. But yeah, I like the story behind the numbers. So can we talk a little bit about that? Because I like to, when I get a bookkeeping report from my bookkeeper, I like to understand, like I ask questions like, what's been my best performing month year on year? Which is my best quarter of the year? What's my average customer case value? And she's like, oh, okay. So she doesn't volunteer that information. She's just like, done your numbers. And I'm like, yeah, what do they mean? So how can you help people understand what the numbers mean from how can I relate to the numbers?
It's turning into your business, I suppose, because like you said there, when you are looking at them, if you look at them quarterly, you can go, okay, and it's going, yeah, okay, you've got £20,000 in your turnover. Well, how many sales was that? What is it that you sold? And it's actually looking at how it aligns with your business, and then putting them together. Because we, as entrepreneurs, we go out there and, as you say, we do all of our sales, we do all of our things, because when you set up as a business owner or an entrepreneur, you're doing it for what you're an expert in. As you said earlier, we suddenly have all of the hats to play with marketing, CEO, finance, the things you don't necessarily expect that you're going to have to do, but you suddenly do have to do. So it's turning that into your language then and going, okay, this is what it is, and breaking it down. And that is then where the accounting software comes into play, very much so. And actually looking at it and going, right, and then talking about the profit and loss and going through it and clicking into it and going, this is where it comes from. Because you can literally see where it's all coming from, the sales, the people you sell to. And if you want to know the expenses, actually clicking into that and having a look as to where it's all going. So then you can actually be more focused and go, okay, do I need that? What do I need to do? But it's also remembering that when you are an entrepreneur, you really need to also work on your personal finances, because everything you make in your business directly impacts your personal finances too. So they go hand in hand. And if you're not doing both, one, you're probably not in your personal life going to be able to do all those things you want to do, like going on the holidays, buying the stuff you want to buy, enjoying life, going for coffees with friends. Because if you don't know what you want to do and you don't know what you need, you won't know where to focus in your business. It's so important to marry them up together so you know where you're going.
Right. There's two things I want to just split into two different conversations. So one, before we move into personal finances, in order to understand your numbers, I had to go through a whole transformative experience last year in 2023 where I had to make some investments in the processes and systems of my business. A spreadsheet just for me just didn't cut it anymore. So for example, understanding my numbers for me meant having a CRM system that before the deal was completed, I would understand the pipeline. So obviously, I'm technically a salesperson doing marketing. I come from a business development and sales environment. So for me, it was always about understanding like the sale journey and how I was converting the deals and things like that. So I had to invest in a system and invest in a team member that would actually be able to put all that in place. I was like, this is how I want to see it. Can you do it? Then at the back end, I had to invest in things like Zero and others. What else have I invested in? Like I changed from Monzo to Starling because it was better tracking my numbers there. Then I invested in Zero, but then actually this new CRM system does an invoice sending functionality as well. But then I realized I was losing money because you have to pay. So if people paid me through the CRM system, they would have to pay through a platform called Stripe. And I was like, oh, I am so techie. I've got it all. So I set up Stripe and everything. And then I realized, oh, I'm actually losing money because that transaction wasn't a bank transfer. It was a Stripe payment. So I got charged a fee. So then now I have to, anyway, long story short, my example is to ask the question for anyone listening. In order to understand your money better, you need to manage it better, right? So what systems would you recommend, like an easy setup for? So give me one for an entrepreneur, business owner, and then one for personal finance.
Okay, so for business-wise, yeah, of course. Business-wise, if you're not on an accounting system, you need to get on one. It's that simple. Zero is, as running my own accountancy agency, is the one that I prefer to use with clients personally. It's the most user-friendly, easy to use one, as you probably know. If you're very visual, it's very good on that. It's very simple to use. So get yourself onto an accounting software. It's going to save you so much time and money. And depending where you are in your business, even if you have a bookkeeper or an accountant, chances are, even if they're doing it for you and you don't think you're on an accounting system, you are. So ask them for access. If you aren't at that level yet, get yourself onto it and start trying to learn, or have some power hours with someone who could teach you the basics so you can do it, because that is going to help you with your profit and loss. That's then going to help you actually look back in a year's time, 6 months time, and go, okay, these are the months where I had the best sales, these are the months where they were a bit lower. What do I need to do to pick them up? Do I need to now start creating my seasonal variations? What do I need to do? So get on an accounting software. And the biggest mistake I see with people setting up businesses is they will have their business account and their personal account joined. It will be the same account. Have separate accounts. Have a business account. If you're a sole trader, you can have a normal bank account that you use. Ideally, you want it to be a business one. Starling's free. That's a great one to choose. But make sure you have separate accounts, because it will help you separate your business money to your personal money. And then obviously you then need to make sure you've got like pots or savings where you keep tax money aside. So when you get to self-assessment, you can pay your tax. If you're limited to your corporation tax, when you go VAT registered, you need to make sure you're putting VAT money back. So it's having it all split out. And so it's really easy to understand and stay in control of. Personal money wise, there are some systems out there that you can use very similar to the accounting system. There's one that I've been looking at called Banktree, which is quite good, but I do think it's a little bit complicated for what it is. Again, it's very much similar to the accounting software where you have to reconcile your own bank statements. It is great if you like things to be digital. You can create charts with it and things, but honestly, with my mentoring clients, a bog standard spreadsheet, it works brilliantly for personal finance. I think the hardest part is people overcomplicate it. They think they need all of these techie things of personal finances in a bog standard spreadsheet. And if you really want pen and paper, so you can create your conscious spending plan, which is your budget, but I don't use the term budget, I use conscious spending plan. And actually you understand what money you have coming out of your account every single month, so you know actually how much you need to be earning. And again, make sure you've got your bank account set up and savings accounts set up so you can actually save money for yearly expenses like Christmas, holidays, birthdays, and actually work it out so you're managing your money.
I love that. Conscious spending.
Conscious spending plan. Yeah.
Love that. I love that terminology. See, just that reframing it is so that already the attitude with that budget might feel a bit restrictive, like this is my budget, this is all I can do. Whereas actually when you're a conscious spender, you actually start to ask yourself, should I be spending more money on clothes like this? Should I be having a £4 latte every single day? Should I be doing like when you give value to the money and where it's going, you will spend it differently, won't you?
It's about being aware of where your money's going. And for me, so when I talk about personal finance, I don't like budget because, like you said, I say it's not a diet plan. It's not restrictive. It's about being consciously aware of how you're using your money. But I mean, I'm a massive mental health advocate because I went through, years ago, I went through a bit of a mental health breakdown. And I honestly believe that in your conscious plan, you need to make sure you have money set aside for yourself. You need to be looking after yourself and make sure you have that in there. When you say budget, people think, oh, well, I'm going to have to cut everything out that I enjoy. No, it's about being consciously aware of where your money's going so you can actually live and enjoy your life in the way you want to be doing it. If you want to spend £4 a day on a latte, that's absolutely fine, but make sure you can afford it. Make sure that's what you want to do, because the reality is if you want to go on a holiday, a massive family holiday, can you actually afford that? Do you need to cut that latte? What is your priority? And actually really think about where your money's going. So it makes you aware of your finances. And that reframe just mentally makes it so much easier to manage it all.
Yeah, honestly, we went through that. My husband and I totally get what you're saying. We went through that whole financial exercise together because, you know, I really love holidays. Okay. And so does he. Like we love going on a really nice holiday. Okay. So we kind of go a little bit loose when it comes to like hotel and, you know, how often we go away. That's really important to us. He doesn't buy anywhere near the amount of clothes that I buy because my job, it is me justifying it. I think they call it girl math. My job is very like, if I'm going on stage, I can't just throw on any outfit that I'm wearing. I need to think of the camera. I need to think of the pictures. So I'm trying to build up my work wardrobe again, because how I used to work pre-COVID was like in another corporate environment, how I'm trying to rebuild my brand. So he doesn't buy clothes just as much, anywhere near as much as I do. But then so that I have a different pot for that where I want to be spending on that, for example, and he doesn't. So we'll have our joint accounts where we're spending, you know, on food and fuel and, you know, necessities for the house and house decoration. Like I'll buy a lot of candles, but I guess he lets me have that. But the point is, like you quite rightly mentioned it, like what is important to you? Like we love to spend money. Like we're not those people that don't live a life and we just save everything. But a big decision we made in the summer of 2022, when the mortgage rates were like suddenly spiking up, we decided that we would stay where we are. And the big financial decision we made is we were going to make big overpayments on our mortgage and whittle it down and try and reduce our monthly reduce our monthly mortgage repayments, which they now have. So our mortgage repayment has reduced, the term will reduce. So we're trying to like reduce our debt, but we've been able to find a financial way that we can still afford really nice holidays. And we've reduced eating out unnecessarily. So that was a sacrifice that we made, which was, hold on a minute, sometimes we go out because we can't be bothered to cook. And that's not okay from a health point of view and also financially, because I'm trying to be healthy. So actually eating out wasn't aligned with my goals anymore. So I get where you're coming from a conscious perspective, because actually I was thinking, well, hold on, I can make healthier food at home, which supports my fitness journey, but also it's actually more cost effective for me to eat at home. So yeah, eating out more doesn't actually make sense.
No. And it's about creating, and this is why my business is Let's Get Wealthy, because although I talk about money, it's about creating your wealthy life. And it is very individual to all of us. My wealthy life is very different to yours. You know, my wealthy life is being able to be there for my children, to be able to work school hours, not work weekends, have school holidays off. At the moment, that's what's my priority. So my plan is going to be very different to yours. And it is about creating your plan and the way you're using your money for in a way that's working for you. And the mistake a lot of people make is they look online, they see all these people creating this luxurious lives. One, it's usually a credit card life. It's normally not quite.
Yes.
And two, is that really what you want? Actually think about what you want for your life, because sometimes we get so sucked up in this online media with these perfect images. They're usually fake, and actually if that's not what you want, then that you need to realign your values with what you're actually doing and how you're spending your life. Don't get me wrong, you know, I love a good Domino's every now and again, and there are days where I will sit there and just, I can't be bothered to cook myself. But then doing it one-off is different to doing it every single day, because it does add up. And it's admitting that, okay, this is how we want to do it. How do I want to live my life? What do I want to do the rest of the year? Can we afford it now? Because the reality is, unless you go and win the lottery or you're a billionaire, sometimes we do have to make sacrifice. But it doesn't mean you can't enjoy life now how you want to be enjoying it.
Well, most billionaires or new money, as they call them, you know, like even celebrities that come into a lot of money, they actually are in debt. They're in a lot of debt, because if you don't fix your money blueprint, if you don't fix your money attitude, it doesn't matter how much money you have. Like, the more money you have, the bigger debt you'll have, because if that's how you were when you didn't have enough money, that's how you'll be when you have a lot of money. So the quantity of it, trust me, will not fix how you work it. That's why I said at the beginning of the show, it's not how much you earn, it's what you do with it. And that lesson, I don't know where it came from, but I know it definitely was said by my granddad to me, and like to my mum, and then my mum passed that down to me, but I don't know where he got it from. But definitely he was not a big earner. My granddad was not a big earner, but he was smart with his money, and he came, and I'm not ashamed to say this, he was a farm boy. He came from Sicily, and what he had was a flock of sheep. And how did he manage to invest in a property portfolio in the UK? And I repeat, he did not have a lot of money. Like, he was able to do that.
Just because I work with a lot of six-figure entrepreneurs, and just because people are making more money doesn't mean that they have more money. Usually there's a lot of debt involved. And someone asked me a question last week, which was a really good question. How does it feel? They actually said, do people who have lots of money have the overwhelm? And I said yes, because we're not taught financial literacy in school. It's one of the biggest failings in our education system. And it doesn't matter how much money you have, you will change and adjust your lifestyle to that money. So as you have more money, you're going to upgrade your house, you're going to buy different clothes, you're going to probably go to a different shop to buy your groceries. So you never really have more money, and then you're still chasing the money. So it's actually looking at what you have and making sure you're using it wisely, investing, make sure you've got an emergency fund, and designing your life around that into a way that works wisely. Because I see so many people start turning over all this money, but they don't really have it because suddenly they're in a 6-bedroom house because it looks good. But then you then have to keep working to bring in that money. So actually, when is enough enough? It's knowing what works for you. And actually then when you actually do start getting the more money, going, right, do I really need to upgrade? Am I happy where I am? What do I want? And yes, okay, if you want to get a different house, go and do it. If you want to buy different clothes, go and do it. Just make sure you're not putting yourself in a debt cycle, because a lot of people, they spend it because you don't know how to handle it. And it's exciting. It is exciting when you get that money, when you've never had it before, and it's so easy to spend and it's harder to get back. So just use it wisely and make sure that actually as you are getting more money, you're just being really conscious about where it's going.
Honestly, I can continue for another hour to talk about this topic, and I'd get my spreadsheet out and see what you can do with it. But I've enjoyed very much having another empowering woman to talk about money with, because I think the stigma is like the men to take care of the finances at home. And I think that is the worst position, whether you are in a same-sex relationship or a opposite sex relationship. Not one of you should just be in control of the finances. You both need to be equal parties in understanding what's going on with the pension, what's going on with the mortgage payments, how much is the water bill. Like, you both need to understand it together. And if you're a throuple, great, you all three need to understand it. I don't care how many of you there are in the relationship, you need to take ownership and get help where you need help. So if people wanted help from someone like yourself, Louisa, where would they go and how would they find you?
I'm on Facebook and LinkedIn as Louisa Wilcox. So it's Wilcox with 2 L's. And if you put Louisa Wilcox Money Mentor on Facebook, but to be honest, I'm on pretty much all platforms. So you'll find me in most places. I even have.
will share the links. I will share the links,
Thank
Louisa,
you.
because more people need to know about you. So thank you so much for being a brilliant money honey. And for you people listening, if you found this truly valuable, please give Louisa all the love by simply clicking like. Actually share and reshare this post, or just give a thumbs up or comment below, or give a review. Like, we need to share the love. When people are coming out here and bringing all their value and all their skills, please show the love back. Please appreciate them for being here for you. And if you are a loyal listener but haven't quite yet pressed that subscribe button, please do it. I'm on a mission this year to making this podcast the best ever. We're officially a year old. We've interviewed over 60 women in property, finance, and construction. I know the buzz is happening. I can hear people talking about it. But we need to show the evidence that we are together, and actually build the charts, actually build up this podcast on the charts. So please, I would totally appreciate it if you can kindly subscribe and share. Thanks, Louisa. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.